Okay. So this is advisor orientation. My name is Dan Lenhart. My official title here is Marketing and Web Specialist in the Center for Campus Engagement. My main office is located in the Student Center in room 343. There's my email, d.lenhart. I am the main admin for the Vikes Connect platform. I oversee all the student organizations, make sure they get registered and are trained, all the officers. I also take care of all the communications, so the Viking newsletter that goes out to everybody, the video screens in the student center, social media, websites, a lot of other things. So very, very busy. This is the staff of our office. And so Kim Springer is our director. Samantha Broadus is the assistant director. She mainly works with Campus Activities Board and with our major programs and activities out of our office, such as the Week of Welcome, Magnus Fest, Spirit Week, things like that. Michaela also works in our office, and she primarily works with our fraternities and sororities. She also does training, and she is in charge of anti-hazing training. And then Maureen is our budget officer, and she works with your organization treasurers to conduct all of the fiscal business that your organization may do over the course of the year. I'm going to show you where these links live, but I just want you to give you a heads up, particularly for the last link, the RSO links, is sort of like the landing page for everything that student organizations need. But Vikes Connect now, and we're in our second year with a company called Modern Campus, and their platform is called Presence. We just market it here at CSU as Vikes Connect, that's just the name we give it. But it is Modern Campus Presence. Our office, Vikes Care, if you need that resource, if you're working with students and you feel like you need that. And then the links page, which we'll dive into in a minute. Some of the advisor expectations that our office has with you as advisors is there is an expectation that you maintain contact with your organization on a monthly basis. That's bare minimum. You should know what the organization that you're advising is up to. So, ask them, when are their meetings? You should be attending at least one a month, but if you can do more, that's fine. If you can attend any events that they're having, or if they're doing travel, we encourage that as well, to show your support and encouragement for your organization. Travel, I know, becomes a little tricky for some advisors because they can't get away. We do not require the advisor to travel with their organization. So if members of the organization you advise are going to a conference, while it's nice and it would be great if you could attend along with them, we don't require that. We expected, obviously, advisors would offer guidance regarding their organization functions and finances. You would advocate for your organization, encourage them to adhere to policy and procedure. That's the thing that tends to trip up organizations the most. Cleveland State's got a lot of policies and procedures. We know it. We live it every day. It's tough for students sometimes, though. It takes them a little longer to get their heads wrapped around all the different things that we require them to do sometimes. So, helping them with that will go a long way. The other thing, too, is by default, as the advisor, you're going to be asked to review things that the organization submits through the Vikes Connect platform. When they want to hold an event or request space on campus, it could be for a large dinner dance fundraiser in the student center ballroom on a Saturday night, or it could be a bake sale table on the Interlink. Either one is going to require your review and approval. If they are traveling, same thing goes with that. spending money, you're going to be asked to review that. Any funding requests that they put through, and we'll talk about funding in a minute. And then officer changes. So you're going to be asked to be involved in your organization through these functions as well. I want to touch on a little bit about duty to report. As you know, the state of Ohio did pass an anti-hazing law called Collins Law. We are in the process of completing hazing training that will be required to all students and advisors and anybody else who is involved when you're involved with students. So athletics will be involved. There'll be a lot of people involved. But when it comes to duty to report, we ask you as advisors to also be aware of what's going on with the members of your student organization that you advise. If you notice any of these things, please let us know so that we may be involved. For example, that second bullet point where you see that says students traveling who are unapproved. The university, there are laws that we have to follow in terms of reporting. One of the reporting requirements is when students travel off campus and stay overnight. There is a report that is done yearly. And so we have a real issue with students who just go off on their own, travel to something, but they're representing the university. That is a problem. Students must inform us and must complete all travel paperwork before they leave. That's a university requirement. Hazing activities is definitely something you need to report to us immediately. If you notice any kind of inappropriate behavior, or if you notice troubling behavior, that is an issue as well. We have obviously the care team and Magnus Acts email that we ask you to utilize if you feel that, maybe you've been going to the meetings and suddenly the vice president has dropped off the radar. Nobody's seen or heard from the vice president. You're a little concerned. Report that through the Magnus Acts email. Let us know so that we can help out. Just a few other things to let us know about. Fronting is a big issue. Fronting means that an external or even an internal organization is looking to utilize space on campus, but to bypass the cost of utilizing this space, they'll recruit a student organization to host the event for them. And so, as you know, we don't charge student organizations like we do offices and departments. And so that is a bit of an issue. We've had external companies try to do the same thing where they try to come on campus, but they'll attempt to partner with a student organization to host a quote event for them. That is known as fronting, and that is not permitted. Any other like gambling types of fundraising activities are not permitted. So if you find out that your organization's planning to do, say, Super Bowl squares or a 50-50 raffle, the state of Ohio considers that gambling, and that is not permitted as a way of fundraising. When it comes to events, and I'm going to point out a couple of examples, as advisors, you need to act quickly when event requests come through. There is a conference services event classification timeline that I'll show you in a minute. We want students to follow that, and we even tell them to add additional time to when conference services needs to know, because you need to see and review, and then my office needs to see and review before conference services will even schedule that space. Okay. And so the clock is ticking, so to speak, once they do that. Okay. So once the student organization submits their request to Bikes Connect, you'll be notified via email. You need to respond to that. Otherwise, it becomes too late to reserve the space. Be aware of there could be potential costs, though, for events on campus. I'll show you where you can see those costs. We're also reminding organizations not to play explicit music if they're having an event with music. They got to be family friendly events. So again, remind your students that some of the more racy lyrics are frowned upon strongly. Let's just say. When it comes to travel, if your organization is planning to send members to a conference, convention, event, anything like that, we need to know at least 45 days in advance of leaving for the trip. As you know, there are pre-authorization travel forms that must be completed and signed before they go. There is also an emergency contact form. The treasurer of your organization will work with Maureen, our budget officer, to make all the travel arrangements. Okay. She has a university credit card, so she will book flights and hotels and pay for conference fees. We don't want the advisor, you guys, making travel arrangements. Don't ask your department secretary to make travel arrangements for the organization. That must all be done through Maureen so that we have documentation and then can report accurately travel of student organizations. Okay. So if you're traveling with them, that's great. She'll make your arrangements along with the rest of your organization. Okay. The only thing really that travelers should be concerned about as far as out-of-pocket expenses would be meals and incidentals. Okay. If you are going to reimburse travelers for their meals, they will need to supply a receipt, an itemized receipt, 10 business days from returning. And then the treasurer will submit expenditure requests to process the reimbursements. So this is really super important. Travel is something we take very seriously. We want to make sure that it goes off well, but we want to make sure everything is done appropriately, which is why we need enough lead time to make sure this happens. We can't run around scrambling at the last minute with something like this. A couple other financial tips. Do try to avoid spending your own money as an advisor. Don't offer to pay for things and be reimbursed because it gets a little tricky with some stuff. Don't forget that Cleveland State's a state institution, so we don't pay state of Ohio sales tax. So if you buy something at the store, we can't reimburse you for the sales tax. Amazon and Apple websites, and we found this out the hard way, is that Cleveland State does not want you ordering stuff off of Amazon and Apple websites for your organization. We have an account with those websites, and Maureen will place the orders for the organizations. We had a student, unfortunately, spend a couple $100 out of their own pocket for supplies for their organization. They ordered it off of the Amazon website thinking it was okay, but come to find out that the university denied their reimbursement because they didn't follow proper procedures. So you can see why this becomes very important. Okay. Another important point for advisors to be aware of is because we don't allow student organizations to have external bank accounts. Now, there are some exceptions with some of the fraternities and sororities, but by and large, organizations are not permitted to have external bank accounts because that removes our oversight. That also means that they can't use third-party apps to collect credit or debit card payments on items. So as an example, let's say that your organization has membership dues. People want to use their credit card to pay their membership dues. You have to set up a ShopNet account. We give you the link. You as the advisor work with the ShopNet people to set up the account and then ask for access. You as the advisor will ask for access to what they call the O drive. And that's where ShopNet reports are kept. And then you can pull your report. Every transaction that hits the ShopNet account goes automatically into their agency account, their bank account here at Cleveland State. So there's no withdrawing money out of PayPal and into a different account and then withdrawing that submit cash for a deposit. It's all done electronically. And so Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Eventbrite, student organizations are not permitted to use that to collect payments if they're accepting credit or debit cards. Okay. Policies for food consumed on campus have changed. I will go over those in a minute. And then you could also email our main office email, which is just studentorgs@csuohio.edu with any questions that you might have. George had asked, I will have this PowerPoint on the links page for you. And so somebody asked, are raffle baskets allowed for fundraisers? Yes, they are. When I say gambling activities, I mean like a 50-50 raffle. When you're paying money in and you're getting a cut of it back, and then the rest is kept by the organization running that fundraiser, that's considered a gambling fundraiser. So Super Bowl squares, even bingo in the state of Ohio. So there's lots of other things they can do. Raffle baskets that find if they've received items and they want to raffle them off, that's perfectly okay. No, advisors do not have access to agency account reports. If you want them, you can ask Maureen. But they should be pretty close to what is in Vikes Connect. We try to keep a real-time data as best as we can. The systems are not connected to each other. But we try to keep those up to date as best as possible. Your treasurer is the primary person that handles all finance for the organization. Okay. But Jennifer also asks, when do we need to put in budget requests for the year? I just got an email from SGA's treasurer this morning. Looks like they're changing dates, but they're starting to submit requests now. So organizations can submit allocation requests if they want to. Okay. All right, let's jump into Vikes Connect. And we are in what we call the student portal. When you log in, you click up here, you'll see login, you're logged in. You should see admin dashboard. Okay, if you do not see admin dashboard, please reach out to me and let me know. You should also see the organizations that you are an advisor or quote member of. Do be aware that there are also departments and programs who have pages in Vikes Connect. So it's not just student organizations in the platform. As a reminder, what the university did is I worked with marketing. So when you visit the university's website and you click on events, we use Vikes Connect events page. That's why you're going to see departments and programs now. So like, for example, there's the Mary Joyce Green Women's Center. There's some more organizations, but you're going to see some other offices in here as well. One thing I do want to point out to you is this resources tab. In this very first link is the RSO links. And I mentioned this during the PowerPoint presentation. Last year, I had a lot of advisors and officers saying, I can't find this, or I can't find that, or where's this, where's that? So what I did is I made one web page that has everything you need. Okay. As you go through it, you'll see there's the manual. I'm actually updating this year's manual. So this is last year's. They'll be available soon. Somebody asked for this PowerPoint that I just showed you. There's the link to it. Okay. I do have some instructional videos for the students if they forget how to do something. The Modern Campus Presence has its own help that you can use, and it's got videos and resources here. Here's the student government funding guidelines. This will give you their dates. This is the old one, by the way. I know Jen just asked me about it. I got to replace this after I'm done here today. I'm going to replace it with the updated one. But this will tell you how much they'll fund an organization and up to what the caps are. And so make sure you look through that. Food related forms. I mentioned that food policies have changed. You know that Aramark is contracted to be the sole food provider on campus. However, they do give some leeway for organizations to have events or meetings or whatever and serve food on campus and not use them. Last year, organizations could spend up to $75. This has been increased to $300. So that means that organizations that want to have an event on campus and they want to serve food, so long as they spend less than $300, they can get their food from anywhere and serve it on campus. If it's above 300, then they are limited to either catering, which is Viking Food Company, or Rascal House. They can use Rascal House up to $749. When you hit that $750 threshold, you must use catering. The only exception to that is if you, for example, wanted to have an event and you wanted to have specific kind of food that catering can't make or provide, but you have a vendor that does, then the organization asks for a catering waiver. And so the links to everything is right here. Rascal House order form, waiver, catering menu, food service policies. Event costs, remember I mentioned that. Right now, Vikes Connect does not talk to EMS, and that's the calendar system that Conference Services uses to reserve space on campus. Hopefully, knock wood, by the end of this semester, they'll have that completed and students will be able to make real-time reservations for their spaces. Right now, there's a little bit of a lag because the systems don't talk to each other. But they check availability of space using this. I mentioned the event classifications to you guys. Again, this is what we tell students. So you notice this class 1 event, 30 working days. That's when Conference Services needs to know. Okay. We tell students, though, tack on an extra 15 for class 1 events. Why? Well, for the simple reason that these tend to be more complicated. You need to review and approve. We need to review and approve before we even alert Conference Services. And if it's a large scale event, Conference Services may ask the organization to an event committee meeting, and then the event is discussed in detail. When there's a large scale event, there's a lot of moving pieces and parts. We want to make sure the event is successful so we get everyone around the table. And so you can see that takes time. Even a class 3 event, here's a good example. I just said no to an organization because they wanted a table for a bake sale. They just submitted the request today, but they want the table for Friday. It's already less than 5 days. Okay. That's not going to give you as an advisor enough time to review or approve, or my office. So we say, even for class 3 events, tack on an extra 5 days when they're submitting things. That's to give you guys as advisors enough room, a little wiggle room to approve things. Okay. Costs. If you want the room set up a certain way, there could be a fee, additional equipment. For large scale events or certain events that fall under the class 1 events, it's very likely that police are going to be required to attend and be present at the event. There is a charge. Minimum is $220. Events on the weekends or after 2 p.m., if the room is left a mess, will be $33 per hour. So if it's a 2-hour event, it would be $66 cleaning. If organizations need to cancel or change the time, date, or location of an event, they must submit this cancellation form to Conference Services first, get it approved, and then they can make the change to their event in Vikes Connect. If the event requires a liability, here's a liability waiver that you can complete and have blank copies available for people who are attending your event. Contracts are something that could happen during events. If a speaker comes to give a lecture, there will be a performance agreement contract that is required by the university. If the organization, let's say, is having a photographer at an event taking pictures, that would be a special event agreement. Again, the treasurer of the organization works with Maureen on these. Promotional items, we have a list of vendors that you must use. Travel, this is new. A van rental program is new for organizations this year. If your organization, say, wants to go to the Cleveland Food Bank and do a day of volunteering and go as a group, you could rent a van from Parking and Transportation Services for that. Okay. There's your emergency contact form for travel. Other finance forms, there's your link to ShopNet. If you feel like you do need, let's say you need to get supplies for your organization and it's only sold at one specific specialty store, okay, that's okay, but ask for a sales tax exemption so you get the full refund. If organizations want duplicating, we have a duplicating request form that we work with our duplicating department on that. I give them some fundraising ideas, including group raise, which is restaurant fundraisers, Browns and Guardians concession stands, Mally's chocolate bars, and a lot of really cool fundraising ideas. Some other forms that they may use, this officer advisor update form. If a officer or an organization needs to step down and they replace them, they use this form to alert me. You'll be asked to review and approve that. And then some marketing and promotional items. Like I said, I send out the Viking newsletter for announcements in the newsletter. You could submit them here. I do not promote regularly scheduled organization meetings, only because with 200 plus student organizations, that's all the newsletter would be. So I use the newsletter as a way to point out large scale events and encourage people to go into Vikes Connect to see everything else. Organizations should be submitting all of their events, even their weekly meetings, as events so that people can see them. Any questions on that? I see one person put in a class. Okay, somebody balled out. We're going to go into the admin dashboard now and point out a few things. So when you log in and go to your admin dashboard, if your organization submitted something for your review, you'll see it under this action items. You'll also get an email from Presence asking you to review. Okay. So for example, here, I'm an advisor to my fake training organization. And so I can review these requests. Again, nothing happens until you do that. So you can see this, they're creating an allocation. Allocation is when they are asking for funding. Law school organizations ask Student Bar Association. Sport club organizations receive additional funding from the Sport Club Council. And then the remaining organizations ask Student Government Association for additional funding. And they do it by creating allocations. When they want to spend money, they create expenditures. So they'll either create an expenditure or an allocation or a deposit. You'll be asked to review allocations and expenditures. And the way that this is built, and I'll show you how we build these, the finance tool, okay? So you see here, they got their agency account, and it lists everybody's agency account number, okay? Then you see that they have their funding account. Their funding account is a temporary account, and we break it down by different categories. So for student government, you see that if they're asking for money to put on an event, if it's approved, they'll be allocated money in their event funding bucket. If they're asking for money for travel, they'll designate this sub-budget. Any other kind of money that they need for supplies or whatever, that would be this. There is only for student government a one-time 150 no questions asked budget that they can ask for money. and then spend throughout the year. These are temporary in that once the event or travel in particular has happened, they're expected to spend the money in a timely fashion, and then any money left over goes back to the funding body for reallocation. So in this example here, you see that they received 1,500 and spent 500 because now they're sitting at 1,000. Let's say that was it. They don't get to keep this 1,000. It goes back to SGA for allocation again. So this will get zeroed out. The only one that'll stay around for the entire year until they deplete it would be the one-time 150, possibly other as they move along if they got enough money to order certain supplies for their organization that they might need. Okay. So when it comes to spending, they're going to create an expenditure, and then they're essentially going to fill out a form. They'll do the same thing for when they're creating an allocation, when they're asking for money. They can spend their money and their budgets in one form now with this new platform. I'm just going to go down here a little bit. It's this area down here. So what they can do is they can say, I want to spend some money out of my agency account. I also want to spend some money that we got out of our one-time 150. So they may be paying for pizza and they may be paying for supplies in one ask. That's the way, that's the kind of the beauty of this, is they don't have to create a whole bunch of these. They can do it one time and ask for different things in one form. It's the same thing when they're creating allocations. If they go to create an allocation in the finance tool, it'll be the same thing. They could ask for money for an event and money for travel and even money for a one-time 150 all in one ask by creating their allocation. And again, these are all forms. And so they're built to ask questions. And as you answer them, will lead to other questions. So you can see here, maybe they want money for an event. When they come down here in the budget, they're going to say, put the money, if it's approved, into our event budget. And we want to ask for travel and put that money in our travel budget. Now, they won't see these other organizations. You're seeing it because I'm a top-level admin. But you can see here, they're now asking for event money, they're asking for travel money, and they could ask for the one-time 150 money too. Same way, okay? And you'll get one notification to review all these at once. And then you just go and approve them, okay? Events, again, same thing. When events are submitted, students can take attendance to events. Let me stop my share here with you for just a quick second. Hopefully I can show you this. So let me show you this here. There is an app. I don't think you can see it. It's from Modern Campus, Modern Campus Presence app. Now, the app, we're starting to push students to get the app, because once you download it, you pick Cleveland State and then log in. And what it does for the user is it creates an individualized QR code. And so you can use a smartphone to start touchless check-ins to events. At some point, for a little further down the road, we're going to start assigning points to events. As students attend events and earn points, they can then turn those points in for prizes. And so we want to start getting everybody to use the app, and in particular for the events. Okay. Let's see. Let me go back here. Jump back in. So when they are creating events, again, very, very similar to the other forms. The major difference between the event form and the allocation or expenditure form is when you're asking for times and locations, you can't add additional dates and times. I've brought this up to Modern Campus. They say that's a feature they are working on. So unfortunately, let's say that they had a weekly meeting, they have to create each meeting instance as a separate request. They can't bundle them like they can with expenditures and allocations, at least not yet. But you can, once you have events, students can then check people into events using either the card swipe or using the app. They can take attendance. They can create a poll and attach it to their event. And so when they take attendance, when the event is over, the poll will automatically be emailed out to the students who attended for feedback about the event. So you can do stuff like that in the platform. Use an advisor. You can also create forms if you want to. Forms can be used as applications. If, for example, your organization has a process to become a member, maybe there's an application form, you can create that online. Forms do have conditional logic built in them that you can utilize. That's how I use it for the forms that I create. And so you can do that as well. So there's some useful tools in here. I'm going to pick on some organizations here. I'm just going to pick on the 1964 Society just to start. Okay. When you go in the details section, some of what you see here is what people see when they visit the page in Vikes Connect. If I go to this organization here, 1964 Society, as this loads, this information down here, this about us right here, that's this, which you can edit at any time, okay? It also shows you who your officers are, which is this part down here, which you can edit anytime by clicking the edit button. This also tells you, hey, you're missing a secretary. Any organization that is short 1 or 2 officers is considered emerging. Emerging organizations, we pump the brakes. We don't let them do events or travel or requesting money. What they need to be focused on is recruiting and filling the open officer positions. Once they do that, then we remove the emerging org tag, and then they are considered a fully recognized organization. So it is very important that they have all 4 officers. But this will tell you if they don't. You got your events. You could start checking people into events 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after the event. So do be aware of that. You can then see attendees to events if you wanted to reach out to them. You can save documents in here. No image documents, just regular file documents like spreadsheets, PDFs, Word documents, but image files you can't save in here. This is your roster. This will tell you who your officers are. So you see they're missing their secretary, who their advisor is, and who the members are, and who they've sent invitations to. Okay, you can send invitations. Now, you won't see add members. You'll actually see invite members. And you use the CSU email account. We only use CSU email accounts in the system. Once you send them an invitation, they'll sit down here. So you can see that Aiden here got an invitation on March 7th. It looks like everybody did. Now, you as the advisor or the officers have the option. You can either resend the invitation or revoke the invitation. Revoking it will remove that person from the pending invites. Okay? It's up to you what you want to do with these people. You'll notice here that you can come in and change titles. The thing is that changing titles does not give them admin access. Only I can do that. But that's what the little pencil is for. You can email members if you want. When you click the email member, I use Outlook. I have the client, and it just starts a new email. Excuse me. And it takes everybody's email address and puts it in the BCC line of a new Outlook email. Okay. So you can do that. You can also import people off of a spreadsheet if you wanted to do that. I will point out one thing. Notice this join button here. When students visit this page, if I were to click this join button, I'm going to appear on their roster. Now, I know that some organizations have requirements. It might be a GPA requirement, particularly if you're an honorary organization. So you might not want this join button on your organization's page. If you don't, let me know. I will turn that off for you. It's in the settings. Right now, only me as top-level admin have access. So I would do something like this and allow organizations to restrict membership. So if you don't want this join button, please let me know. I'll turn that off. Okay. You do have some other analytics. And here's, by the way, the forms, and you can create forms in here. Okay. And you either can create by just clicking the create and create form this way. Okay. So now here's an example of how the process works. This will give you a good idea of how things flow in this platform. And by the way, while this is loading, I do want to point out one other resource for your use. When you're in the admin dashboard, if you notice in the lower right-hand corner, that circle, that blue circle with the, looks like a call-out box with a little smiley face on it. When you click on it, this is Presence Help Desk, and they have people waiting to take your call. And I just sent them a message this morning. And they're really good. You can see that they respond, or you can do a search. So if you've never created a form and you want to do a little walkthrough on how to create a form, just do a search in their help, how to create a form, and it'll pull out with built-in videos. So they have a really good help function. Okay. Anyway, back to this event registration here. Notice that Hannah here, she submitted this today at 11:57:01, and I see the advisor approved at 12:03. So now it's my turn. So now I'm going to review this event, and I see it's on the 13th. It's in the student center. Now I'm a little concerned because more than likely, even if this was a class 1 event, we're getting close to the date of the event itself. Usually what I want to see is, okay, do you need any setup for the event? Because sometimes that'll incur costs. You want the setup, room setup, as is. So this as is tells me, okay, no charge, that's good. So it looks like they really just need the room. It's buttoned up against the time, but I'm okay, and I'm going to approve that. Now that I have approved it, you see the next person in line is Christine. Christine is the scheduler for conference services. So once this system takes my approval, she will get an email notification to review the, and then she'll go in, make sure that the room is, and she'll approve it in here, and then she'll send an email to Hannah from conference services with confirmation of the space. Okay, so that's the process that we follow. When it comes to the budgetary items, instead of me, it's Maureen. So you'll be approving it, and then Maureen will take over from there. Okay. So those are the processes that we use. This is the platform that we use. And those are the essential policies and procedures. So that's the formal one. Jen's got a question. Jen, let's talk after we're done here, okay? If you're still on the call, hopefully. I don't know if she still is or not. Yeah, she is. Okay, Jen, we'll get to her. That's the formal presentation. I want to give enough time at the end for any other questions that anybody might have. So feel free to ask now that you got me here.
Question. So, advisor QSA, I know the QSA has been having a lot of challenges. We finally have our a president and secretary to run unopposed. And the on the website, or not president and treasurer to run unopposed. And so will our secretary be able to make that poll in the admin? Like, can our secretary see the admin dashboard of their okay, so they'll be able to make that poll and like, okay, I think
all the officers, all the officers in the organization can edit the about page in their details. They can create events. They can add people to events. They can create forms and polls. The only difference is that $ tool. The treasurer will be the only one to see that.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. Benvolio sent you an email, so I will I gave them some of this information that I learned here today. But they might have more questions. I told them to follow up with you.
I still have some ongoing officer trainings on Zoom through the end of September. And then after September, I will have a video and quiz for those students who missed out on all that. So I'll catch them one way or another. And then I'll check everybody's when we get close to the end of fall semester. Don't forget that everybody has to earn good standing at the end of the term. So I always check grades at the end of the term as well. Any other questions anybody has?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It's more towards the beginning. There was a link or something that showed like budget request guidelines or like how much we can ask for and things like that. Can you show me where that, or tell me where that's at again?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're in the portal, if you click on resources and go to RSO links,
okay.
I'm going to tell you right now, this single web page has saved me probably at least 40 to 50 hours of emailing students. Because it's right there, Student Government Funding Guide. Boink. Now be aware, I got to replace this still. Like I said, I got an email from the SGA treasurer this morning, and she, I guess, made some changes to it. So I got to upload the new version.
Okay.
But that's where you find it.
Sweet. And then I just have one more question. I missed where you get the app at. Is it just in the App Store? Or?
Yeah, App Store.
Okay.
Yeah. When you're in the App Store, look for Modern Campus Presence.
Modern Campus Presence. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Yep. I will be offering some other trainings for organization officers this year on event and travel planning, as well as fundraising, marketing, and promotions for organization leaders. If they're interested, you're welcome to attend those. They're all listed in Vikes Connect. I'm always available for help anytime you need it as well. Is there any other questions about anything? Well, I hope this was useful. I hope you got something out of it. If you got any other questions, you got my email. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thanks so much for attending today's session. I'm going to end recording now.